Well, you had said in a previous interview that you feel that Prince was murdered by Warner Brothers and Michael Jackson was murdered by Sony
Yes.
for their music catalog.
Yes. Without question. Michael Jackson owned, okay, the rights to the Beatles. He owned a significant portion of Elvis's catalog. Who's more popular than them two guys in the world of white music? And a black man owns the rights. Sony Records deliberately sabotaged Michael Jackson's last album, Invincible, to guarantee that he would be into debt to the corporation, so he would have to pay them back by giving up the catalog. Okay? And ultimately, that's why he was murdered. He should have never came back to the Staples Centers to prepare for those concerts that he had lined up. Those concerts would have gave him the liquid cash to pay off his debt to Sony and keep his catalog. So in order to make sure you get the catalog back, you got to make sure that Michael never goes on tour to get the liquid cash. Michael wasn't broke. He just didn't have the liquid cash. He had the assets. He didn't have the liquid money. And from what I heard, the catalog is no longer in the Jackson family's possession. Sony.
Well, the catalog was partially sold, I believe, to Sony after his death. Well, Michael Jackson, I guess at the time he was having some financial issues, but once he died and the state came in and cleaned up his finances, he became one of the richest dead celebrities on the planet.
Oh yeah. Well, he's the highest selling recording artist of all time. He sold more than 1 billion albums. No one else has ever done that. You know, but the music industry functions like any other white racist society. It's get down to lay down. So Michael was murdered. He was murdered without no question. And Prince, who do you know? Here's the interesting thing about the Prince murder. He was sick with the flu, but he was riding his bike in the park a day or two before he died. Who do you know with the flu takes a ride in cold Minnesota, okay, with the flu? Nonsense. Prince was murdered. They found him in the elevator, gasping for air, whatever the situation is. He was murdered too. And I think the problem that he made was he went back to the table to negotiate with Warner Brothers. They wanted to remix the Purple Rain 20 or 30 year anniversary album. He agreed to that. First of all, who calls you up and say, we want to give you your masters? That's the first question. Who calls anyone up and says, we want to give you your masters back? He's been fighting for his masters his whole career. All of a sudden, out the blue, you want to give him his masters? That was the Machiavellian give in order to take, to get back into Prince's life, find exactly what he was up to. Prince's death, Michael's death, was for the Beatles catalog and his share of Elvis's catalog. Prince was murdered for his unpublished material. They said Prince was almost like a Tupac, maybe even more than Tupac. They said Prince had enough unpublished material that you could release an album a year for the next 100 years. They didn't care about the Purple Rain. They want the unpublished material because that stuff is ultimately worth billions. You got to understand, Prince's fans are like no other fans. I know because I have an aunt who is a Prince fan. I mean, they are like no other fans. So you get your hands on a dead artist's unpublished material, is jackpot. He was murdered for what had not been released yet. Michael was murdered for what he owned.
Well, you had mentioned Tupac also. You felt that Tupac was...
Tupac was murdered without question. Tupac. The FBI had Tupac and Big, for that matter, under surveillance for at least a week prior to the murder. So that means even the murder was caught on tape by the FBI. Now, mind you, Pac was a serious threat. His mother was Afeni Shakur, former leader of the New York City Panthers. This is the same black woman who walked into a New York City federal courthouse pregnant with Tupac and defended herself and 20 other Panthers from that famous Panther 21 trial when they were charged with plotting to blow up federal buildings, which was nothing but a COINTELPRO setup. Pregnant with Pac, no legal experience. This black woman defends herself and all 20 of them, 21 of them walk out of prison. So naturally, the child of that has to be watched. Geronimo Pratt, his godfather, Mutulu Shakur, I believe possibly the stepfather. At the time of his death, he was working to politicize the Crips and the Bloods in LA. Tupac was a threat. The #1 selling rapper in the world, okay, is a revolutionary. They could not allow that. After he split from Death Row, Tupac was on his way to do some revolutionary things, so they cut him down before he could grow.
Well, I mean, I actually researched this story and spoke to people who were actually there and so forth, and people that were close to the situation. You can't deny that right before Tupac was killed, he beat up a known gangbanger and murderer.
Okay.
And from everything that points to it, this was repercussion to what had just happened a few hours, previously. I mean, you could create the whole conspiracy theory and so forth, but when you look at the actual chain of events, because some people are saying, "Oh, well, Suge Knight set him up," and it's like, you're really going to set up someone? You're going to have someone assassinated while you're in the car with them, and the car is riddled with bullets and so forth. I mean,
Tupac's
you
assassination.
have to look at the facts of a situation sometimes.
Tupac's assassination was a political assassination. It was not due to the gang situation at all. That was totally political. And mind you, he arrived to the hospital alive. See, we also have to look at that too. Tupac arrived at the hospital alive. Okay.
Very bad, very bad.
Very bad, but he survived a few days. Not to say that it wasn't the shooting that killed him, but we do know we have a history of black radical figures going into the hospital alive, okay, and then dying shortly thereafter. Okay, and I also think that it's no coincidence that Eazy-E, Tupac, and Big all died within a year of one another pretty much. Pac was what, 95? I think Eazy was 94. No, Big was 97, Pac was 95, and Eazy was 94, or something like that.
I think Eazy was like 92.
Nah, Eazy wasn't 92. 92, I graduated from high school. Eazy was still alive
Hold
in
on
92.
a second. Eazy died 95, you're right.
Eazy 95, Pac 96, Big 97. Look at that. 1 year for 3 consecutive years, 3 of the top rap personalities exited out. So, I mean, we all know about the hip hop police. We all know that,
Actually, you're right. I just looked it up. So, yeah. Eazy-E 95, Tupac 96, Biggie
95, 96, 97. Exactly. It's no coincidence. But the music industry is a secret society. And the music industry's job is to do what? Promote and propagate the images that are most advantageous for the power structure to use in order to facilitate its agenda. If we want black men in jail and dead, we need black rappers to promote a constant message of destruction and degeneracy. Every rap video has 4 elements in it: killing black people, using women, smoking weed, selling dope, and worshiping materialism. Every rap video. The lyrics might be different, the beat might be different, but the 5 elements of destruction are there present in every single rap video made, except for the conscious rappers, the Common Sense, the Dead Prez's, the Talib Kweli's, the Immortal Techniques. But mainstream rap is nothing more than a billboard for why don't we just all go to jail or die.
What do you think about the whole situation?
Man, my point of view, man, I really feel like they tried to paint a bad picture on my brother and tried to make him look like he was a hater. It was some envy, jealousy type shit, you know what I'm saying? And actuality, you know what I'm saying? Bro been having this shit, man. He been in the condo.
I got my hat on and I had my Coke bottles up under my hat. And I'm sitting at the dinner table like an asshole with the hat on, knowing she gonna tell me to take it off. And I'm just sitting there just gulping down, in my zone. She said, take that goddamn hat off at the dinner table. I'm like, come on, Mom. Coke everywhere.